I want to tell you a story about Jean, one of my dearest friends in the whole world. Well, her mother is Jean. And I think I've known my friend for 47 years. I think 47. We met when we were pregnant at the same time. Our husbands worked together. And we have been just dear friends since. And from the time I met her, I've known her mother. And I've watched her mother age. And I've said for as long as I can remember, and I've told her many times, I've told Jean many times, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. And I've never wavered from that. Jean was the mother of 5 daughters. 5. And when I met her, I think when I met her the first time, her husband had already died. And she was just different. There was something about Jean. And I didn't know what it was about. She was a young woman when I first met her. Well, I say young, she had to have been in her 50s because guess what? I think she's 99. She just celebrated her 99th birthday. Jean is something else. You always knew that she was kind, always has a smile on her face, always did, very loving, very welcoming you into her world. And she loved her daughters and all of her grandchildren. She was truly the matriarch and is the matriarch of that family. But it wasn't just all of that about Jean. I would say to you that I like Jean's style, but I think Jean has many different styles. And I think that's where I am in my life, is I can't pinpoint myself that I'm classic, or I'm dramatic, or I'm this, or I'm that. I like a little bit of everything, or most things, at any point in time. I could always count on Jean just having great style. Whatever it was, whatever she chose. I can remember going to visit my friend, and she had a little get-together of friends and family that I knew, and she, of course, invited her mom. And when Jean showed up, she had, for no reason, no obvious reason, other than that's how she wanted to dress, she was dressed like a cowgirl. She had on cowgirl boots, she had on her hat, she had on her beautiful, very well done full face of makeup. She had I remember a round cowgirl skirt with a cowgirl shirt and a vest, and she was just Miss Cowgirl. And it was because that's what she wanted to look like that night. When the time came, and if I remember correct, it was as much her idea as it was her daughters, that maybe she should move into an assisted living facility. And she chose a high-rise. I don't know, maybe 18 or 20 stories high. And she was able to get the penthouse. And I can only imagine that it was decorated beautifully. I never saw it. But she's always been very active. They had access to exercise and swimming. There was a pool there. They had all kinds of activities. She played bridge on a regular basis. She entertained in her apartment. She was just very, very active. She didn't drive when she was there. They had, I think, a van or ways that she could go shopping, do whatever she needed to do. And she had children and grandchildren who lived there who could help her as well with anything that she wanted to do. But she was one of those women, and I'm going to be careful when I use this word cute because I've been called on it, but Jean was without a doubt as cute as anyone could be. Her makeup every time I saw her was perfect. Her hair was always the latest, cutest little haircut. She wore her hair short. She was dressed, well, you just never knew how she would be dressed. She was kind and thoughtful. I wanted to be Jean when I grew up. So I've decided that I actually have become a version of Jean. And I guess in some respects I can consider myself a crazy older woman. Not like the crazy cat lady that we all hear about, that has a house full of cats when she gets older. I prefer dogs, but I'm okay with cats too, so don't want any flack from that. And I'm not talking about that grumpy old woman who at some point has lost her filter and she'll just say anything at all. And she's just very blunt, and the tone of her voice, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Jean. I want to be bold in a positive way. And I tell you, I've thought about this process of becoming a crazy older woman. And I've wondered if it's all of that hard work through all of those years to just survive, if that's because it's finally ended for me and it's giving me the freedom to live my life the way I want to, on my own terms. Is it the years of my adventures, the traveling, and all of the experiences I've had in these jobs I've had, people I've met? Is it, or has it all just built up inside of me until I'm to the point that I'm just a big walking book of stories and tales that I enjoy telling? I want to be Jean. I want to be just like Jean. I'm going to wear bold clothing. I've had a really hard time with this trend that's been going around for so long now, where we don't need clothes. We want a minimalist lifestyle. We want a minimal number of pieces of clothing hanging in our closet. We don't want our stuff around us. We want to get rid of our stuff so that we don't leave it for our children. I've bought into all of that. And I've never been comfortable with it. I've done videos on it. I'm not comfortable with it. I love my clothes. I love having clothes that are all different styles. But they work for me. They work for me. I may, as I said, have a soft look one day, and the next day, who knows what I may have on. But it's how I'm feeling that day and how I want to present myself that day. I just want this craziness, if that's what you call it, to continue as I become older and older and older. I think so much of this is what keeps us young. Maybe, sometimes I think that as I've gotten older, I've just stopped caring about what other people think, about how I live my life, about how I dress, how I wear my hair, how I wear my makeup. Maybe it's because I'm wiser now. Maybe that's just it. I'm wiser. And I've thought about some things that maybe will help me continue to be this crazy old woman that I'm loving being. I try to stay physically active. Some days I'm better than others, but I try to walk. I try to eat pretty good. I try to stay in the present. I try real hard not to live in the past. I think there are a lot of good things about our past. We've learned a lot. We have a lot of stories. We've learned a lot of lessons. But I try not to dwell in the past. I really try hard to live every day. Something that I have done and I'm working on again now is to be involved somewhat in my community. And for some of us, it may be our church. It may be volunteer work. It may be organizing the Homeowners Association social calendar. It could be so many things that will keep me active in my community. I think keeping my finances in order, knowing, keeping up with what's happening with my money that I've worked so hard for. I think seeking out new adventures. What can I do that's new and fun and exciting that will expand me? And I know just the other night, Jim said, I think while we still have time, I'd like for us to go back to Tuscany. And I chimed in, as long as we can go to Barcelona too while we're there. We had an opportunity back before the pandemic when we were over there to go on a day trip into Tuscany. And it was one of the best things we've ever done. We thoroughly enjoyed it. And we both have known that we want to go back and spend more time there. And I think the next time we go across the pond, that's probably what we'll do. We'll spend time in Barcelona because we love Barcelona, but we'll spend some time in Tuscany. As I said earlier, I think I'm just not ever going to care too much about what people think. I know in my heart what's right for me. I've learned, and this is a biggie, because y'all know how close I've always been to Jennifer, but I know I've had to let go of Jennifer. I've had to let her be a wife. I've had to let her be a mother. And I've worked really hard on not interfering with any of that. If she asks me for my advice, I'm going to give it to her, but I'm not going to offer it. And I think we have a pretty good relationship now. We always have had a pretty good relationship. Not totally complete, not perfect. There have been trying times, but I think it's so much better because I'm letting her be on her terms where she needs to be in this stage of her life. I'm continuing to live my life with no regrets. I've done a lot of things I'm proud of. I've done some things I'm not so proud of. But I have no regrets. Because all of that had to happen for me to be sitting here, right now, today. It had to happen. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have been better. It could have been worse. But all of those little things together got me right here today. And I'm happy with where I am. I sort of ask myself from time to time, what would Jean do? What would Jean do? My question for today is, are you living your life as a crazy older woman? Are you much younger and you're watching this to see, oh my gosh, what is a crazy old woman? Are you watching this wondering if you'll be a crazy older woman? And if you are, which kind? Are you going to be the cat lady? Are you going to be the grumpy one? Or are you going to be someone who really and truly in their heart wants to be kind and wants to be a good influence on those around her, those she comes in contact with? Doesn't mean I can't be badass, because I can. But I can be badass adventuresome, to be that badass, kind, older woman until I leave this world. And that's exactly how I would like to be remembered. Thank you so much for watching. Know that I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.